Hidden behind some of the world's roughest and most scenic mountains, Lao is almost a secret. Even the name is often missaid, as anybody who asks the Lao embassy about Laos will soon discover. Lao is a door country, something like Poland or Korea. Despite wild mountains and rivers, the Lao people have been overrun and controlled by the Vietnamese, Chinese, Thai, French, and Khmer rulers, and today by hydroelectric engineering firms. There are more than 80 distinct cultures in Lao, and the number keeps growing. In the recent past, contract anthropologists have discovered at least 10 new tribes hidden in rugged limestone near the Vietnam border, much to the dismay of their engineering firm clients. Running from north to south, the Mekong River is the lifeline of Lao. All culture and all economics depends upon the waters of this great river that forms much of the country's western border. 14 major tributaries flow west to feed the Mekong. These rivers have literally thousands of secondary tributaries, several of which flow through caves. Where the Mekong turns inside Lao, there is an ancient royal city called Luang Prabang. This city of temples is so stunning that today it is a World Heritage Site, with special protections from the UNESCO Division of the United Nations. Luang Prabang sits just a few miles downstream from the confluence of the Mekong and the Nam Ou, northern Laos' largest tributary, a river that starts near the Chinese border and flows right through the heart of northern Lao hill tribe country. Unlike Thailand, where greed and over-impact has destroyed hill tribe cultures, most of the folks in northern Lao have never seen a Westerner. The last of the French colonialists left about 50 years ago. The Russians who replaced them during the Vietnam War years isolated themselves in the capital city Vientiane, and the American invaders flew miles up in the air, known only by their rain of bombs and spent fuel pods. Through this battered yet isolated region flows the Nam Ou, picking up waters that originate in Vietnam, China, and Burma, eventually meeting the Mekong and flowing past the temples of Luang Prabang. One of SeaCanoe's mottos is, "Our trips start where the others stop," and this exploration would be true to form. Our goal was to explore this region's cultures and environment, establishing a benchmark before the new yet pleasant invasion called Visit Lao Year. Paddling the Nam Ou right through this fascinating region promised to be remarkable. Experiences like this just weren't supposed to still happen in 1997. When the word got out that SeaCanoe was exploring the Lao interior, our exploration group grew larger than usual. The SeaCanoe staff included expedition leader Noah Shepherd, that's me, Rivermaster Dave Williams, lead guide Decha Promtep, known to us as Pom. His hometown is Nakhon Phanom in Thailand, right across the river from Lao. And finally, expedition videographer and SeaCanoe founder John Gray, known as Caveman. Joining the staff on this SeaCanoe survey trip were seasoned adventurers Roy Backmeyer of Phuket, Thailand, naturalist Bill Hutchins from Miami, Florida, Frank and Susan Gustafson, anesthesiologist and social worker respectively from Berkeley, California, Kathleen Verstraete, a Dutch expat worker stationed in Beijing, China, and our local Lao guide, Noi. From the start of our research, we discovered that roads in Lao start in Vientiane. As our group arrived at Vientiane Airport, we realized that in this mountainous, landlocked country, most frequently, those roads are by air. The plan was to fly a small plane to a small town somewhere up near the Chinese border, board a bus down a dirt road that we hoped was still there, to a town that we were told had lodging. First we had to load all the kayaks and expedition gear, and us, in the plane. This heavy load forced us to land to refuel in Luang Prabang, City of Temples, World Heritage Site, and our final destination. Luang Prabang is about as far as most Westerners get in northern Lao, but we were pressing even further north to the booming metropolis of Udomsai. so populous that it can't be found on most modern maps. The Nam Ou continues beyond Udomsai, but that provincial capital was as far north as Lao aviation could get us. On the way, we passed over both the Mekong and the Nam Ou. Following traditional sea canoe form of the past 15 years, we landed in a rice paddy with a cheer. There we were met by our bus and a tuk-tuk, a small, open type of taxi, common in Southeast Asia. Not to worry, said our guide Noi. It's a Chinese bus, he told us. Well made and very sturdy, which we would need on the road we'd be travelling. He wasn't wrong. Udomsai is a hill tribe centre, and here we got our first look at untouched Lao when we stopped for lunch in the best restaurant in town. We took the shy and humble staff by surprise, but they reacted quickly. Soon we had one of the finest meals north of Vientiane in our bellies. The aromas were as tasty as this meal looks, and we caught our first views of hill tribe families. With everything loaded in our sturdy Chinese bus, we took off across the northern Lao highlands. It's a world without paved roads or electricity, with few worries or cares. Just to get in the mood of things, our group stopped in a village along the way to try some Lao Khao, the local rice whiskey.
Man can find Jesus with this beverage right here, man.
Roy considered the brew a religious experience, while Dave Williams found it exciting. Bill Hutchins, noted for eating anything that moves, easily had his fill.
That's all for me.
Our Chinese bus did prove sturdy, and our driver courageous as he traversed several spots that even locals doubted we could make. Eventually, we found ourselves in Mueang Khoa, right on the Nam Ou, and our initial put-in. Mueang Khoa actually has a main street with stores and even a 12-room hotel, our home for the night. But the river was our big interest, and the next day we prepared for the put-in. It took about an hour to inflate and load our Sea Explorer fleet. We rapidly became local attraction. Caveman was impressed to find a fellow Bruin from UCLA, his alma mater, in this remote place. Even pigs and dogs came down to see what we were up to. After a few lessons from Rivermaster Dave, we launched the kayaks one by one with cheers from the local fans and staged up in an eddy for the trip downstream. Soon, we were off into the wilds of the Nam Ou, probably the first Westerners to paddle the river since the days of French colonialists. We had no idea how we would be received in an area that has seen decades of false wars and brutal colonialism. Stopping to make friends along the riverbanks, we soon discovered that if anything, the Lao are even more soft and gentle than their Thai cousins. We continued down the rain-swollen Nam Ou, gently meandering through hillside farm country. Frank, our high-stress cardiac anesthesiologist, found the river quite a change from operating room life-and-death situations. As we pressed on down the Nam Ou, the pace became more relaxing. Siltation, both natural and agricultural, turned the waters of the Nam Ou red. Dave continued his on-the-water lessons. Soon, the waters picked up some steam, and we practiced an eddy up behind a midstream log pile. We continued down the Nam Ou, picking up speed, finding breaks along the banks and drifting down the wide channels. We had to think about the night's resting place and pulled into a riverside village. When SeaCanoe runs regular trips, camps will be built outside the villages. For this survey trip, the approach was more relaxed. Paddle up to a local village, have a chat in Thai which the locals understand, and judge the vibes. There wasn't much response at this first stop, so we stayed in our kayaks. Finally, the village headman made it down to the water, and the kids followed him. The reception was lukewarm, so we decided to move along. The villages were getting more colourful as we made our way further into the heart of Lao. Light was getting short, and the skies turned ominous, so we began to look in earnest for a village. But on the way, we took a play in some swirling waters. This was definitely a float trip, and not a whitewater, white-knuckle experience. Finally, we pulled into the next landing. It was serendipity. The afternoon was late, and the vibes were right. In an instant, everybody was out of the boats and up the riverbank, making new friends every step of the way. Ban Hatsa is a prosperous, more modern-style village with a main street with several shops and a charming temple. When we arrived, the townspeople rolled back the shades and prepared for their guests. We quickly found the temple, classically built along the river at the north end of town. It is considered good luck to build the temple next to the river. The community shower is just beyond the temple grounds, guaranteeing a combination of clean mind and clean body with every trip to the waterworks. The head monk was definitely not camera shy as we toured his grounds, but the younger novice monks weren't quite so bold. A stint in the monkhood is the norm for many Lao adolescent boys, who are by nature quite shy. The gong adjacent to